to the latest edition of the Barbarian Investor Show, where I'm joined by my co-host Malcolm Palle, non-executive director at Coinsilium, by Diego Gutierrez Zaldivar, who is the CEO and founder of RSK, and by Eddy, Travia, CEO at Coinsilium as well. How are you today, gentlemen?
Very well, thank you, Zach.
Right, today on the menu, we're looking at smart contracts, which sounds relatively simple and easy to understand, but is it, Diego?
Well, I think it is. Our society is based in law. That's the programming language of our society. What smart contracts do is do a similar thing in a computer. But when we are talking today about smart contracts, we are talking in an environment that is completely decentralized. So instead of running your contracts in one computer, you are running them in thousands of computers distributed along the world. And the outcome of those contracts is only written down if all computers agree that the result is the same. So basically you have a system that not only follows certain rules, but is unhackable, because a hacker should compromise half of the network, thousands of computers, in order to change the outcome of those contracts.
It's unhackable, that's quite a big word.
Well,
brave word as well.
It is. I simplify the concept. We like to talk about probabilities of hacking or compromising more than, there's no absolutes, but the likelihood of happening, compromising the system is very low. And there's cryptography, there's mathematics securing that process that over time make more and more difficult to change the records that attest for all those processes, all those contracts. So it's said that after a few hours, those contracts are settled in stone. So it's a mixture of probability plus mathematics and hard science that make that happen.
So it'd be basically pretty difficult, let's say, to hack such a system.
And there's economic security in place as well, because what we did is we created a platform that secures smart contracts using the Bitcoin network. And the Bitcoin network today has an investment of around $750 million only in hardware. So the difficulty of hacking that network requires at least that investment. And even if you could deploy that amount of hardware instantly, that would be noticed by the rest of the network, and very likely your effort would go to trash. So that's why we like to say it's not impossible, but it's very unlikely.
It would have to be state-sponsored, wouldn't it?
Well, it would have to have a state that's got deep pockets as well, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And an international network, but maybe that's a little bit.
Countries that fit the bill.
I think you might have some that aspire to doing it, but in reality, we've not seen the Bitcoin blockchain hacked itself, because we made this analogy before.
Yes.
It's the gateways in that are the areas that are exposed, rather than the actual cores. Like gold, you can't. With gold, the issue is not necessarily the gold, it's where it's stored if you're going to steal it.
That's how you hack gold, by
I suppose, well, you can actually hack gold by sort of injecting tungsten into it, but that's another story.
Yes, that's the hacking in gold. But,
yeah.
I would say, I think there will be state-owned Bitcoin mining operations in the future, because if states start using the Bitcoin blockchain or RSK blockchain to run their processes, they will very likely want to have some stake at it. So I don't see a domination of one state over the network, but I definitely see involvement from governments in the network.
I'm too scared to mention any states in particular, life-threatening. But I want to get back to the smart contract concept, because I was very encouraged by this idea. I think in one of my favorite films, Back to the Future 2,
yes.
It was revealed that by 2015 they'd actually abolished lawyers. That was the technology. So we seem to be quite close to that, just a couple of years late.
Yes, but it's a process, because the first thing you need to have is the digitalization of the assets. I mean, you have to have a digital representation of the assets at play in any contract in order to then apply the law or apply the business rules. So we are in that process where we are starting to digitize our world, to make digital representations that are trustable of those assets in the real world. Next step is to start building these contracts, these rules that handle the transfer of value between parties. And then you have an element that is very interesting, because the smart contracts can only work with the information within the blockchain, within this special ledger. So you will need what is called oracles, which are parties that take information from the real world and put it into the blockchain, into the ledger, so smart contracts can take decisions on that. So I think, you know, it's a process where we are starting to bind, to connect the real world with this new digital world that was only possible because Bitcoin appeared. Because before that, we couldn't have digital value that you could attest that nobody was copying, you know, thousands of times like happened with the music. So the revolutionary part of Bitcoin is being able to have digital value, being able to have a piece of value that is represented digitally and that only the owner can move somewhere else.
I want to go on to Eddy. You're an investor in RSK. Clearly, this could be a massive area. It could be an everyday something which is used every day. The smart contract and multiple time frames and situations and everything else. What was your? I mean, apart from the excitement, what was your sort of motivation for getting into this, and how did you hear about it?
Well, we were in contact with the RSK team back almost, I think, 4 years ago, yes. When RSK was probably just a project at the time, because Diego is a pioneer in Bitcoin, created, I think, the Bitcoin Foundation in Argentina, Bitcoin Argentina, right? And so he has been very much involved in the whole Bitcoin scene and ecosystem in Buenos Aires. And we were in touch with them, and we also see that his co-founder, Sergio Lerner, is a very well-respected and reputed engineer and security expert for the Bitcoin Foundation at the time, and has been very instrumental in solving a lot of bugs and problems on the Bitcoin in the past. So we thought this is a dream team for this application, and at the same time, we were very excited about the potential of smart contracts. And as you may know, another blockchain was created in 2014 called Ethereum, but there was not real smart contract capacity connected or secured by the Bitcoin blockchain before, until RSK came out. So I think it's a very exciting proposition.
So this is unique, is it?
Yes.
Well, it's you're either unique or you're not. So this is a unique development.
It's a unique development, and they have been also very smart in securing the cooperation of the miners around the world. So they have a lot of miners supporting RSK, and that's very important when you know a bit more about how this works in terms of the, let's say, the politics of the network and the governance of the network. It's very smart to have the support of the biggest miners in the world, especially, for example, in China and others. And as Diego was talking about the Oracle system, at Coinsilium, we consider now that RSK is kind of the cornerstone investment in the smart contract area. And now we have recently announced a partnership and a collaboration with Oraclize in London, because they provide this service. They are one of the most important service and most used service in Oracles, where you feed this external data, which is not part of the blockchain, because the blockchain has only blockchain data initially, right? But then you can feed, for example, Bloomberg or Thomson Reuters prices or sensors data. Any data that is outside of the blockchain can be fed and can be used in these smart contracts for the applications that, for example, RSK is focusing on.
Right. Is there any way of working out projecting what the return on your investment might be?
Well, we think it's going to be exponential.
You see, that's something I was going to ask you in a little bit of a different way. But what are the business cases that you can quote so that investors can get their heads around where the money's going to come from?
Well, I mean, to give a simple example, it's not that I'm saying that will be the killer application, because finding the killer application in these sorts of systems is very difficult. I mean,
perhaps you wouldn't say it on television now.
I don't mind, because as we are a platform, the more use cases that are deployed in our network, the better. So, I will give a lot of good ideas so people can go and implement them. But basically, to understand what can be done, if you have an insurance policy for flight cancellation, with an Oracle service, you can get that information from a cancellation of a flight into the blockchain, and the smart contract can actually pay automatically for that insurance policy.
So no claims form?
No claims form. So that is the kind of savings or efficiencies that you can bring with smart contracts. But that's only like a...
Small market.
I give that just as an example.
Tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, and something that everybody can understand and connect to. But I think there are much more disruptive use cases, like creating identities based on reputation. So in the future, it will be more important how you behave over life than who a government says you are. So every transaction, every contribution you do to your community, every new degree you get, every sale you do, will be recorded, tied to your identity, and that identity will grow over time and will become a collateral. Because if you fail, to a deal, very likely that that reputation will be diminished. So very basically, that identity based on reputation will enable trade on a global scale like we've never seen before. Because I don't need to know you beforehand to do business with you. I just have to see your records, your previous records, that I know they are completely trustable.
It's like an honest CV. Well,
yes.
It's like an honest CV. The CVs aren't the marketing tools, I suppose, but
yes.
This is a proper data record, basically.
Yes, and if you look at Airbnb and all these companies, Uber, they are basically reputational systems, much more than anything else. So this is basically an open reputational system. So the business you can build on top of this open reputational system are endless.
Okay, well, that sounds very, great from all angles, business and otherwise. I just want to finish off with maybe a light-hearted note. Bitcoin soaring over the last couple of weeks. Is this sustainable? Is it a bubble? Are we due a retracement? How does it work?
Well, we in terms of the Bitcoin value, I think we're increasingly seeing, let's say, a kind of a more mainstream adoption and mainstream awareness. So we believe that although the price increase is a bit fast, it also shows some sustainability in the sense that we feel more and more new actors are coming. So, for example, I was talking to a trading platform in Hong Kong, and they were saying, and they were also mentioning it recently in an article, that they get a lot of new clients. So new clients is good. It means new clients means new people interested in Bitcoin and understanding the blockchain and understanding what you can do with Bitcoin. So I think that partly explains the price increase, and these are fundamentals that are quite good.
So for the time being, we should enjoy the ride.
Yes.
Well, thank you to my co-hosts, Malcolm Palle, Eddy Travia, and Diego Gutierrez Zaldivar. Thank you for entertaining us with the Barbarian Investor Show today.
Thank you very much.